Living on a boat and cruising full-time are two very different things. And today we're going to talk about the training you need for both of them. And yes, they differ slightly. Whether you're dreaming and anchoring out in some dreamy anchorage for months on end or sailing the world, this video will provide the necessary guidelines to the training that will kickstart your journey. Once again, this should be treated as a guideline and not just the things you should do. This should not be the bare minimum. In fact, this should be considered the bare minimum, and you should do all of this and then more. Starting us off with boat life training. First up, for docking and undocking, we have knowing how to safely get in and out of slips, tie spring lines, use fenders, and manage prop off. For daily systems that you have on the boat, you will need to know how to operate and maintain water systems, electrical systems, propane, bilge pumps, etc. For maintenance upkeep, this stuff is very similar to the stuff on a car, such as oil change, filters, and troubleshoot plumbing leaks. Now, yes, you can get someone to do it, and typically you will take your car to a mechanic to do it if you have any problems with your engine. But when you're out there in some desolate island or anchorage, you will probably need to be able to do it yourself. Otherwise, you have a non-working engine for a few weeks, or until you can get back to a marina where you can get someone on board to fix it. But most people try to fix it themselves because it is cheaper and more affordable, and just all around easier. This next one is both useful for the boating and cruising lifestyle. It is weather. You need to understand tides, winds, squalls. Even if you're not sailing far, weather does not bend to your plans, you bend to the weather. And then for those who are not always living at a marina, you will need to learn the basics of anchoring. In other words, how to use the anchor and where to anchor. We also have the safety basics, which is stuff like using fire extinguishers, jack lines, emergency shutoffs, and just knowing where everything is so that when something does go wrong, you can quickly figure that problem, isolate it, and fix it no matter what it is. These things are optional but helpful for both the boating and cruising lifestyle. These things include the DIY handy skills because you will fix more than you expect for both of the different lifestyles. And as I said before, engine repair is useful for both, as well as outside repair, such as fiberglassing. And then for both, you will obviously either need to be able to cook very well or provision, or probably somewhere a mix of both. And of course, if you are living on anchor, you might do what sailors call spearfishing. I plan to make a video all about that later. The goal in all of this information is to get you comfortable living life on a boat, managing systems, staying safe, and handling the boat around marinas and anchorages. Now, while section 1, which was boat life, which was more staying on anchor more often than not, cruising is when you are moving around a lot more than staying at anchor. I wouldn't say it's a perfect 51% more, like that 1% more you're at traveling, but you are traveling more often than you are staying at. This does not include traveling across oceans, because technically you can live the boat lifestyle, the boating lifestyle, but still cross an ocean and then not sail for a while. But the cruising lifestyle is more crossing oceans and blue water passages and coastal hopping, things like that. So you will and all of these things build off of what we just talked about. These are the advanced or additional skills that you will need. First up is sailing and navigation. You will need to know the points of sail, sail trim, reefing, tacking/jibing, coastal navigation, using chart plotters, paper charts, and compass. You will need to learn all of that. And lucky for you guys, I made a video on 85% of this stuff, and that is right here, or here. It's one of these. It's a card. It's right there. It's a video. And yeah. Next up is passage planning. This includes things such as understanding the currents, understanding tides, understanding weather windows, route planning, and how to prep for night sail. You will also need to master anchoring because, as I said, you will most likely be picking up that anchor more often than not. And depending on the countries that you visit, there will be multiple, I guess you could call them, ways to anchor your boat, such as mooring balls, stern anchors, 2 anchor sets, and more. I'm not an expert on all the different types of ways to anchor your boat. Go search it up. Also, reading seabeds and settling the anchor for storms is a very important one. And then emergency handling. All of this stuff is universal for both topics because you will most likely need to go over what happens if a man goes overboard and practice so you know what happens and how to react to the situation. You will also need to practice steering failure, jury rigs, sail tears, medical emergencies offshore. Like all of these things will happen most likely. They will most likely happen more often to the people who are cruising rather than living the boat lifestyle, because the boat lifestyle is more like sit in one place for 3 months and then travel somewhere. While the cruising lifestyle is stay for a week, travel, stay for a week, travel. Or like it can differ, but that's basically what it is. And then guys, this next thing is the things such as diesel engine troubleshooting while underway, because when you're in the middle of the ocean, you really don't have a choice. It's basically either hope and pray whatever is going wrong fixes itself or fix it yourself. You will also need to inspect your rigging, not necessarily while you're in the middle of the ocean, but you will need to do that more often because you will be using the rigging and it will be more strained and more used when you are constantly cruising. And then of course the emergency fixes at sea. The things that happen such as water is going into your boat, or there's a gash here, or this happens or that. It's really random. I don't want to say that, but that's what it is. But you need to know how to fix that stuff. Then guys, you will need to know the comms and regulations, which include the VHF radio use, AIS, Coast Guard requirements, international clearance if you are crossing borders into other countries, which is all important both for the boating and cruising lifestyle. And then weather routing, which includes reading GRIB files, using weather services, understanding fonts, squalls, and passage timing. All of the stuff I just mentioned for both categories is universal because most likely while doing the boating lifestyle, you will be moving your boat around and you will need to know the things such as navigation, weather, boat maintenance, all that stuff. But likewise, while you're cruising, you will need to know all that stuff. It's just that you will be moving more often than you stay. The goal in all this is to become a self-sufficient and safe sailor while traveling longer distances, often away from marinas for immediate help for long periods of time. Alright, in this next section, we have the training paths and resources, which are really the courses that you can take and are sort of necessary, but aren't exactly necessary. These things include formal courses such as ASA or RYA, sailing certifications, diesel classes, first aid and CPR, weather routing courses, and more. However, that's not the only way. Those are the formal courses, but you can also get all of that, or most of it, by just hopping on a boat. And hands-on experience is one of the best ways to do that. You can crew for others, take delivery trips, do coastal off before a big crossing like this. Like before you cross the ocean, make sure you know how to work the boat and you have done multiple day-long passages, or maybe even weekend-long passages up and down the coast that you're on. And then the DIY learning, which is buying the books, watching the YouTube videos, reading forums, joining cruiser groups, and more. This is what I am doing currently. I'm learning all I can from home so that when I get out there, I can be prepared. However, I'm not going to hop straight into it and start crossing an ocean. I'm going to start small because I don't want to hurt myself or others. My tip for you guys is start with life at a marina if your boat is already at a marina, and then move from that to short day hops, and then to many weekend or multiple day passages to week-long before you start crossing oceans. Okay guys, this next section is the common mistakes, because believe me, there are a lot of them. We have jumping straight into cruising without knowing your boat. Knowing your boat is important whether you know it or not. My recommendation, guys, is get a sailor who has sailed with a boat before on your boat for your first few passages, so you have someone with you who can help you when things do go wrong, if they do go wrong. And then, of course, guys, relying on tech. Tech is a beautiful thing, but if you're out crossing and you get away from the beautiful coast and you lose internet, then you will need to chart your ways elsewhere. So you will need to learn those traditional sailing skills such as charts, manual navigation, and like all of those traditional methods. People also underestimate maintenance and the weather. Like people think, oh, well, it's gonna be simple. My engine's never gonna break and it's gonna be bright sunny days all along. And then all of a sudden it's 4 a.m. and you have a thunderstorm going on outside that sounds like your boat's gonna start going off its anchor and your engine's not working. Another thing people don't do enough, as much as they should, is practice anchoring before they leave marinas, because you need to know your anchor and your sails. Those are the two things that are vitally important. To summarize, guys, both boat life and cruising life are incredible. I, of course, will probably be doing a mix of both, most likely boat life for the majority of my time, but of course I will end up crossing an ocean or two in my time. That's all I've got for you guys. Thank you guys for watching so much. Have an amazing day, and I will see you guys in another video. Peace.